Guys, what's up? I have a different video for you today. I'm probably going to put some CS2 gameplay in the back. I don't have many hours on that game, like literally 20 hours, so don't judge me too hard. And I was blasting music while I was playing, so it's probably going to suck, but I just needed something to put in the background. Today, I want to talk about being overweight and what you can do to change that if you don't like where you're at. This is coming from someone who has had their own weight loss journey, actually twice now. And I know when I started, it was hard to get actual useful information without having to pay for it or without being completely misled and sold a supplement for no reason. So I want to just give you guys some information and try to help somebody out. Maybe I can give somebody who needs it some useful information. Guys, I started I was like 20 years old. I was 6'1 or 6'2 at 330 pounds. I was in a bad place and I did not like it. I actually got COVID. I lost a bunch of weight and I wanted to figure out how to keep the loss going. So I did a little bit of research and I started experimenting, and eventually I got some good information off of YouTube mainly, and I was able to apply it. And after about a year and a half to 2 years of working out and dieting later, I sat at about 203 pounds. So I lost about 130 pounds. I sat around there for a little bit until I eventually got a new job. The new job completely screwed up my routine and my schedule, and I fell out of my routine in the gym. Over the next couple years, I wasn't really paying attention to my diet. Ended up gaining back about 45 pounds. Over the last couple months, I've kind of gotten back into it, not as much as I was before, but since I already had the knowledge of what I needed to do, it was easier for me to apply it this time. This time I'm down about 30-ish pounds. I'm sitting at 217 at about 6'1 or 6'2. So not a terrible weight for me. That's my backstory. Now, I don't want to share my backstory to try to impress anybody or flex on somebody who hasn't been able to lose the weight. I'm really just trying to give myself a little bit of credibility. I've done it. I've been there. I've been that guy, and I've been able to lose the weight 2 times. I'm not saying I'm the best person to listen to, but I'm gonna try and give you some no bullshit information on what you can do to achieve similar results. Guys, if you're looking to lose weight, you have to be serious about it. We can't beat around the bush. We can't say, yeah, I want to lose weight until it gets difficult and then I don't want to lose weight anymore. That's not how this works. We have to set a goal. The goal is we want to lose weight. Okay, but how much? How much weight are we losing? And what's a reasonable amount of weight to lose? This depends on your weight now and how overweight you think you are. For someone who is like me, 330 pounds at 6'2", I think my original goal was probably to hit like 270 or 280. So that in itself is about 50-pound goal. That's quite a bit. Maybe even too high for a first goal. I would maybe shoot for 300. So a 30-pound goal, I think that would be more reasonable, and it would put less stress on you. Once you hit your 300-pound goal, you could always drop it to 270 or 280 and keep going down as you progress. That's fine. It's very important you set a reasonable goal up front so you don't feel super stressed and feel like you're never going to achieve your goal. You want to feel like you're getting closer to your goal. Next, we need to find an activity that we enjoy doing, something that's going to help us get active, burn more calories. For me, it was lifting weights. I have some equipment at home, so it's really easy for me to just go out and lift weights. And I always enjoyed it. It was always cool to keep track of my weights and see how I gained strength over time. That's what worked for me. That might not work for you. So pick an activity that you enjoy doing. That could be riding a bike, hiking, walking your dog. Whatever you can do to be more active is completely fine. We also want to make sure we do this a consistent amount of times throughout the week. When I started, I only told myself that I wanted to work out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As I got more into the idea of actually lifting weights, I stepped it up to 4 times a week and then 5 times a week. Once I got really into it, I would even sometimes go 6 or 7 times a week just because it was convenient for me to do. I don't recommend setting up a goal of doing whatever your activity might be 6 or 7 times a week, because that's just an unrealistic goal. To me, you're not going to be able to do that every day, every week. You're going to fail. You're going to miss a day here, miss a day there. You're not going to feel like doing it, and it's just going to snowball, and then eventually you're not doing it at all anymore, and you've completely failed your goal. I think one of the most important things to note is to just be reasonable with yourself up front. If you know that working out 5 days a week is an unreasonable goal that you're not going to be able to consistently do, then don't hold yourself to that. Maybe start at 3 days a week. Just because you're not in the gym 7 days a week doesn't mean you're not going to get stronger and see changes. You absolutely can. The next part, and the most important part, in my opinion, is the diet. It is so simple. This is the most muddied topic in the fitness area, in my opinion. A calorie deficit is what we're looking for. I don't care what you eat it in a calorie deficit. There are healthier and more balanced foods that you can eat that I do recommend. However, when I say eat in a calorie deficit, I don't mean you have to eat salads every day. I don't mean you have to eat fruits and veggies every day, every meal. Are fruits and veggies healthy foods that are beneficial if you eat them? Sure. So I'm not saying never eat fruits or vegetables, but don't feel like you have to eat them every day, every meal, because that's just not the case. You can lose weight by eating pizza every day, every meal. It's going to be hard because pizza can be kind of high in calories. So throughout the day, you're probably not going to be able to eat very much pizza, but you can do it. I just don't recommend it. We're looking for a half-ass balanced diet and a calorie deficit. That's all. Another tip. This is a tip from me personally, but I say make sure you keep eating your sweets. My go-to sweet treat is a Rice Krispie treat, and I have eaten Rice Krispie treats almost every day for like 4 years. It gives me a little taste of a sweet, not a lot of calories. It just works. If you start a diet and the guidelines are way too strict, you will fail. It will happen. If you don't like doing it, how do you expect yourself to be consistent with it over large amounts of time? We want to make sure we at least enjoy our diet and keep some of our favorite foods in the rotation. Now, if it's high calorie foods, we want to try to make sure we eat them in moderation and not eat them every meal or maybe not every day, but we can still eat those foods. When I was dieting a lot, like pretty hardcore a few years ago, I would have bowls of ice cream. If I ended the day and I was 300 or 400 calories short of my goal, and I knew I could eat 300 or 400 more calories and still be in a deficit, I would eat a little bowl of ice cream with sprinkles. And it was good. And it kept me interested and it kept me motivated because I could eat the sweet treats that I always liked without actually feeling bad about it. So I think that's important, that we keep some of our sweet treats and favorite foods in the rotation of our diet. One of the hardest things, and I think this is where a lot of people mess up at the start of their journey, is how many calories should they actually be eating. Now, this varies very widely based on the type of person you are and a lot of other factors. What a lot of people will suggest is going online to a BMR calculator, inputting your information and seeing what it tells you. These BMR calculators are not perfect and can be off by several hundred calories, but we can iron that out later. It is a good starting point. I don't recommend using smartwatches, as I've heard those are not accurate at all. You can try, but I recommend just using a BMR calculator and going from there. Now, based on your activity level and your age and your height and everything, the BMR calculator will tell you how many calories you burn in a day. What we want to do is shoot for about 500 calories less than that. So if you input your information and the BMR calculator says you burn 2,500 calories per day, we want to shoot to eat about 2,000 calories per day. That puts us in a 500 calorie deficit daily, which equates to 1 pound of fat loss weekly. 1 pound per week is considered a pretty healthy amount. So I'd say that's a good starting point. If you're good with eating a little bit less daily, then you can do that as well. I wouldn't advise going more than like 1,000 calorie deficit, because then you start to really deprive your body of the nutrients it needs. So it's kind of iffy. I would advise staying between 500 to 1,000. If you go more than 1,000, it's probably going to be hard to be consistent with your diet, because you'll be really hungry most of the day and you're going to want to snack and eventually probably just completely quit the diet because you can't do it anymore. Now, another very important part of this process is actually tracking your calories throughout the day and tracking your weights. For me, daily. Some people say to weigh once a week. I advise weighing every day and taking averages of those weights every week. This gives you a way more accurate overall reading of what your weight was like that week, and you can see how your diet is affecting your weight after every week, and so on and so forth. If you see a 3-pound difference between 1 week and another week, well, you might not be eating enough. You might be losing too much weight. Now, 3-pound difference at the start of a diet is normal because of, you're losing a bunch of water weight and stuff like that, and it comes off fast. But when you're deep in a diet, losing 3 pounds a week and seeing that over the course of multiple weeks is definitely too much. So it's important that we take averages and keep track daily and weekly and have a long log of weights to look back on to see how our diet is actually affecting our weight. Something I don't think gets talked about enough is progress pictures. For me, this was huge. I took pictures at my heaviest when I got to be about 20 or 30 pounds down and looked back on those pictures. It was amazing to see, and it sparked something completely different in me. Like a whole new wave of motivation just overcame, and I wanted to lose more and more weight, and I wanted to keep going, and I did. I think this is really important. So I recommend taking pictures. It may not be the prettiest. If you're really heavy and you don't like the way you look, this might be hard to do, and this might be why people don't do it. But to me, it is important that you just do it. Suck it up and do it. If you take that picture now and you stay consistent, you will never have to look at that person again, and it can just all be a memory. Just do it. Just do it. Take the picture. Take the picture. The most important part about all of this is consistency. You will not get anywhere doing this for 1 week. You will not get anywhere doing this for 2 weeks. You probably won't get anywhere doing this for a month. We're talking 500 calories a day. That equates to 1 pound a week. That is only 4 pounds a month. If your goal is to lose 4 pounds, then sure, you can complete it in a month. But if you're looking to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, this might take you almost a year, half a year to a year to complete. This isn't a fast process. This is slow. That's why it is so important to be reasonable with yourself and set goals that can keep you going. Because if you set the bar way too high, you're going to fall right back down on your ass. So please be reasonable. Guys, I'm going to run back through it one more time. The most important key points that I have said. We're going to set a reasonable goal, and we can adjust that goal as we reach it and set new goals. We want to find an activity that we can do consistently. That activity could be 3 times a week, it could be 5 times a week, it could be 7 times a week, although I advise against setting that high of a goal on that. We need to change the diet. It should never be too strict. We should still keep our sweets and the stuff that we like in, but we need to dial in the calorie deficit. The calorie deficit is the reason we are losing the weight. It is nothing else. That is the most important part. We will not lose weight if we're not in a calorie deficit. Track the calories, track your weights, take averages throughout the weeks. If you see that you are losing way too much weight, maybe you eat a little more. If you see that you're not losing enough weight, then we can eat a little less. We use the weights that we tracked to dial in the diet and make changes. We use the feedback that our body is giving us via the scale, and we make changes accordingly. Very important. Fluctuations in your weight from day to day are very normal. They can be sad to see. If you gained a lot of weight in one day, it's not a big deal. It could have been from bad sleep. Maybe you were overly hydrated and had a lot of excess water. It's fine. It happens. Don't let it knock you off your feet. Be consistent and understand that this process will take a lot of time. It took me almost 2 years to lose the 130 pounds that I set out to lose. Once you actually get disciplined and this becomes just an everyday thing that you don't have to think about, the time just flies and the progress just comes. You don't even have to think about it because it becomes a part of your everyday life. This is why we need all of our goals and our diet to be reasonable and easy to be consistent with. Because if you're not consistent over the course of however many months or years it's going to take, you will fail time and time again, and you will never make any progress. Guys, I hope you were able to take some good information out of this. I really just want to put some information out there for people who need help with this problem, because I know I was in that position at one point. I think I was able to give some good information in a very straightforward way. I'm trying to cut out a lot of the bullshit. There's a lot of smaller, more minute details I had to leave out to cut it short, but I tried to give some good information and put it out here so people can see it. Guys, I wish every single one of you the best of luck if you decide to take on your own weight loss journey. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or even message me. I would be happy to clear up any information you're not too sure on. I know there's a lot of conflicting information out there, so I try my best to answer those questions and clear up those issues. And with that being said, guys, best of luck to you.